I overheard my best friend say he hooked up with my wife. Not back in high school. Not some hazy night before we met. He meant on our wedding day. While I was putting on a tie and practicing my vows in the mirror, he was in a hotel room with my future wife, laughing behind my back before I even said, "I do." 14 years later, I found out by accident. It started like any other Thursday. My wife, Rachel, was cold and short with me over breakfast. Our daughter, Emily, ignored us both, locked in that typical teenage attitude. I brushed it off, grabbed coffee, and headed to the lot. I run a used car dealership. Yeah, I know the jokes, but it's a real business and I built it from nothing. That night, I decided to swing by a local bar for a burger and a beer before heading home. I wasn't in the mood for Rachel's silent treatment again. As I walked in, I saw Sean, my best friend since high school, sitting in a booth with some guy I didn't recognize. I was about to wave when I heard Sean say my name, so I stopped. Yeah, man. I was with her on the wedding day, right before he gave his little speech. Dude cried during the vows. I didn't move, didn't breathe. I stood there, gripping the menu, heart slamming against my ribs. Felt like the floor cracked open under my feet. The other guy laughed. "No way. You serious?" "Dead serious," Sean said. "She always came back to me. Still does every couple weeks. He's too busy playing car salesman to notice." I couldn't process it. Rachel and I had been through so much together, raising Emily, building the business. And Sean? He was the guy who stood next to me while I promised forever. The guy who toasted our love. I didn't confront him. Not that night. I just turned around and walked out of the bar like a ghost. Got in my truck and drove around aimlessly for hours, trying to remember every moment I might have missed. Every laugh between them, every offhand look. And then I remembered something. Emily was born exactly 9 months after our wedding. Not around 9 months. Not give or take. Exactly. That night I barely slept. Couldn't. The next morning, while Rachel was in the shower, I found her old iPad in a drawer. The cloud hadn't been cleared. She probably thought I forgot it existed. Photos, messages, videos. There was a folder called For Me. Most of it was vacation pictures and random selfies. But one file made my stomach drop. A blurry photo of her in a hotel bed. Red rose petals, champagne bottle on the side table. And the caption? "The night we got away with it." I checked the metadata. Date our wedding night. Location, hotel 2 blocks from the chapel. It didn't feel real. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold the tablet. I put it back exactly where I found it and walked out of the house like a zombie. The next few days, I pretended nothing was wrong. I went to work, kissed Rachel goodbye, helped Emily with homework. Meanwhile, I ordered a DNA kit online. Took a week to arrive. I waited until Rachel was out shopping and Emily was napping to swab her cheek. She didn't even stir. I sent off the samples and told myself it was probably just Sean talking trash, trying to impress his buddy. But in my gut, I already knew. While waiting, I started pulling pieces into place. I transferred ownership of the dealership to a holding company. I moved cash from our joint savings into an account Rachel didn't know existed. I even went through our fireproof safe one night, copying anything that mattered and leaving the rest behind. Rachel didn't notice a thing. She was too busy scrolling her phone and pretending I didn't exist. Then the email came in. I opened it in my office, door locked, blinds shut. I didn't read it all. I didn't need to. One line said it all. Probability of paternity, 0%. Emily wasn't mine. My ears started ringing. I thought maybe I was going to pass out. But then something strange happened. I calmed down. Not out of peace. Out of purpose. They'd taken enough from me already. I wasn't going to give them anything else. I went home that night, kissed my daughter goodnight, and slept beside Rachel one last time. The next morning, before the sun came up, I packed a bag, locked the safe, and drove away. She thought I was heading to a dealer auction. She had no idea I wasn't coming back. Rachel didn't even text to ask where I was. Maybe that's what stung the most at first. You disappear without a word after 14 years, and your wife doesn't even check in. But honestly, it made things easier. Told me I was doing the right thing. She was already living like I didn't exist. Now I was just catching up to the reality she'd created. I checked into a small motel outside Mesa Hills under a name I hadn't used in years. Kevin Marsh. Fake enough to not raise flags. Real enough to remember who I was before all this. That morning, I called my lawyer and told him to start the paperwork. I didn't want to fight. I wanted precision. Rachel wouldn't see this coming. She'd get served at home, blindsided like I was at that bar. The rest of the day, I stayed in the room. Phone off. Just staring at the ceiling, thinking about Emily. She was the hardest part. I raised her, loved her, changed diapers, rocked her to sleep, patched up scraped knees. Biology didn't erase any of that. But knowing she wasn't mine, and that Rachel knew it or at least suspected, poisoned every memory. That night, I pulled up the tracking app I'd installed weeks ago on Rachel's phone. She was home as usual. Nothing strange. Until around midnight. Her dots started moving. At first I figured she was headed to the store. Late-night cravings weren't unusual for her. But then it stopped. A motel. Same one Sean used to joke about. Cheap, forgettable, and close enough to keep it quiet. I zoomed in on the location. 2 rooms rented that night. I didn't need a name. I already knew. The next day, the courier delivered her papers. Served her at 2:07 p.m., according to the confirmation. I imagined her face when she opened the envelope. When she saw the grounds listed as fraud, infidelity, paternity concealment. She didn't call. Not at first. Instead, Sean did. "Hey, Kev, I just heard something weird. You good?" His voice was fake casual. Like he hadn't gutted my entire life and made jokes about it over beers. "You're calling me now?" I said calmly. "After everything?" There was silence. Then he asked, What are you talking about?" "You know what I'm talking about," I said. "You're just trying to figure out how much I know." He didn't respond. Just a long, slow breath. Then he hung up. That night, Rachel finally broke. I got 3 texts and a missed call. "Rachel, what is this? Are you serious right now?" "Rachel, Kevin, call me. You can't do this." "Rachel, we need to talk about Emily." Funny how Emily suddenly mattered again now that there was money involved. I didn't reply. Instead, I logged into our joint credit accounts and closed them one by one. Froze her access to anything I could touch. Left just enough open for groceries and gas. Let her stew in that reality for a bit. By Monday, Sean had moved in. I got the notification from our shared Wi-Fi network. New device. Sean's phone. He wasn't even trying to be discreet. Guess he figured I'd just vanish quietly. But he didn't know I'd already restructured the company. Didn't know his contract as our mechanic had been dissolved. Didn't know I had court documents naming me the sole corporate owner, signed and notarized, weeks ago. I returned that Monday morning with 2 police officers and a cease and desist order. Walked right into the lot like it was still mine because it was. Sean was outside, arms crossed, looking smug until he saw me walk up. "Kev? I thought you were. You need to leave," I interrupted. "Now." "What? Dude, come on." I handed him the paperwork. His face dropped. He scanned it like he was hoping it'd dissolve in his hands. Then he saw the part that mattered. "Effective immediately, you are no longer authorized to be on this property." He looked up at the cops, then back at me. "You're serious?" "I'm done playing the fool." He tried to say something else, but the cops were already stepping in. They gave him the choice. Leave now or leave in cuffs. He walked. The employees were stunned. He kept it short. Told them the business was being rebranded. Told them I'd be stepping away. But no one was losing their job. In fact, Rachel and Sean were the only ones out of a paycheck. Later that day, I changed the signage outside the lot. Second Chance Autos. Felt fitting. That evening, I sent Rachel an envelope. No note. No message. Just the printed DNA results. She'd lied for 14 years. Let her sit with the truth. I expected silence after I sent the DNA results. Shock. Maybe a delayed phone call. Instead, I got a knock at my motel door. It was Rachel. No warning. No text. No build-up. She stood there, still wearing the same fake confidence she used to throw around at family dinners when pretending everything was fine. "You think this proves something?" she asked, holding the envelope like it was trash. "It proves everything," I said. "And you know it." She tried to laugh, but it came out dry. "You're really doing this? To me? To Emily?" My chest tightened at the sound of her name. "Don't use her like a shield, Rachel. I raised her. We raised her together. You're just gonna walk away like none of it mattered." "You're the one who walked away," I said. "You just did it slowly. Over 14 years. She blinked like I'd slapped her. Then she started pacing the tiny hallway outside my room. "She's your daughter," she said finally. "Blood doesn't change that." "It's not about blood," I said, and this time I felt my voice shake. "It's about the lies. You let me believe she was mine. You stood there in a white dress knowing you had just been with him. Then you let me raise a child on that foundation." Rachel stopped walking. "I didn't know back then," she said, almost whispering. "I didn't know who the father was." "So you flipped a coin?" "I loved you." "That's not love." I stepped back and shut the door. She didn't knock again. For 2 days, I didn't hear from her or Sean. But Emily called. Her voice was shaky. "Mom says you're not coming back." "I'm not," I said gently. "But I'm not going anywhere either." "What does that mean?" "It means I'm still your dad. Always have been. But there are things you'll understand better when you're older." She went quiet. Then, did I do something wrong? I had to grip the table to stay steady. "No, sweetheart. None of this is your fault. That call wrecked me more than the test did." I sat in the dark for hours after, going through old pictures on my phone, her first bike, her third-grade play, the time she made me a birthday cake that somehow caught fire. None of it fake. All of it real. Rachel and Sean, though, they were fake from day one. So I decided to take a trip. Not out of revenge. Not to run. Just to breathe. I had a red Miata sitting at the lot. A trade-in I hadn't sold yet. Top down, low miles, stick shift. I took it as a sign. I packed a bag and hit the road, leaving Rockvale behind. I didn't have a map. I didn't need one. I just drove. First stop was Mesa Hills again. Then north, desert towns, empty highways, endless sky. I stopped at diners, ate greasy food, and listened to podcasts about things I didn't care about. Felt good. 3 weeks in, I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't healed either, far from it. But the fire that used to sit in my chest had burned out. What was left was colder, sharper, clearer, and it made me think. Rachel and Sean weren't just liars. They were cowards. They didn't confront me. They didn't confess. They let me find out like a punchline to some long, sick joke. But now the joke was over. They were stuck together in the ruins. And me? I was somewhere on a back road in Arizona. Windows down, wind in my hair, and nothing tying me to the past but the name on my license. I stayed out for nearly 3 months. I didn't post, didn't check in, didn't even check the tracking app anymore. And when I came back, the dealership wasn't Kaminsky's anymore. It was Second Chance Autos. New sign, new office, new rules. Rachel tried calling again. So did Sean. Dozens of voicemails, all ignored. But one morning my phone rang. Caller ID said, Emily. I picked up. "Hey," she said. "Can I see you?" My throat closed up. "Of course. I don't care what they say," she whispered. "You're still my dad." I didn't have the words for that. So I just said the only thing that mattered. "I love you." And for the first time in months, I meant it without pain. The first time I saw Rachel and Sean together after everything. They were standing in my driveway. I had just pulled up in the Miata, dust covered from the road trip, sunglasses still on. They didn't see me at first. Rachel was leaning against the porch rail, arms folded. Sean stood beside her like a backup dancer who forgot the steps. When Rachel finally noticed me, she straightened up like a soldier called to attention. "Kevin," she said, like I was the one who needed to explain something. Sean gave me this half smirk, the same one he used to flash in high school when he got away with skipping detention. Like this whole thing was still funny. Thought we should talk, Rachel started. I left the engine running. You've been gone a while, Sean added, trying to sound casual. I wasn't aware I owed either of you a schedule, I said, stepping out of the car. Rachel glanced at the car, then back at me. You've been driving around? I nodded. Yeah, therapy with better scenery. She looked annoyed, like the idea that I might be healing without her somehow made her itch. We need to talk about the house, she said. Sure, I said. Pack up. You've got 2 weeks. You can't just kick us out. I can. And I have. Rachel's voice rose. Where are we supposed to go? I hear Sean's mom has a nice basement. Sean muttered something under his breath. I looked at him. What was that? He stepped forward. You think you're better than us now? No, I said. I've always been better. I just didn't realize it until you two reminded me. He puffed up, ready to say something stupid. I didn't give him the chance. Here's what's going to happen, I said, calm as ice. I'll pay utilities until the end of the month. After that, the house goes on the market. If you're still living here, I'll consider it trespassing. And I will call the police again. You remember how that went last time? Rachel didn't speak. Her jaw tightened. Sean looked down at his shoes. I'm not doing this because I hate you, I said. I'm doing this because I finally love myself more than I ever loved either of you. They didn't try to stop me when I walked past them into the house. Inside, things looked different. Messier. The kitchen was cluttered. The hallway was dusty. My office had been turned into some kind of half-hearted yoga room with a broken mat and a ring light. I grabbed a few things I'd left behind. An old watch, a favorite jacket, a photo of Emily and me from when she was 5. Her smile in that picture was real, untouched by all this mess. As I was leaving, Rachel followed me to the door. You really think you can just walk away from all of this? She asked. I'm not walking away, I said. I'm walking out. There's a difference. She didn't reply, just watched me pull away. The Miata's tires crunching the gravel of a driveway I once built with my own hands. That night, I met Emily for dinner. Just the two of us. We sat at a quiet booth in a pizza place she liked, trying to talk like normal. She picked at her food for a while before finally saying, You know, I always wondered why I didn't look like you. I froze. She wasn't angry, just tired, like a kid who'd grown up too fast in a single month. Your mom should have told you the truth a long time ago, I said. I don't care about DNA, she said, pushing her plate aside. You were the one who showed up. He wasn't. He isn't. I blinked hard. You don't hate me? For what? She said. For leaving a mess you didn't make? I couldn't respond. I just reached across the table and took her hand. Later, I dropped her off and watched her walk inside. Sean opened the door. She brushed past him without a word. I drove away, heart full and cracked at the same time. I knew what I had to do next. I called my lawyer. Let's finish this, I told him. No more waiting. Understood, he said. We'll file next week. And as I hung up, I looked at the house shrinking in my rearview mirror. It wasn't mine anymore. Not really. But what I was building now. That was the day Rachel was served with the final divorce papers. I was test driving a Mustang convertible with a client. We hit 70 on a stretch of empty highway when my phone buzzed. I pulled over, let the guy take it for a spin, and checked the notification. Service complete. Papers delivered at 11:24 a.m. I didn't smile. I didn't feel anything, really, just a sense of movement, like a chapter had finally ended, even if the ink was still drying. By the time I got back to the dealership, Rachel had already called 4 times. I ignored them all. Then the text came through. You're really going to throw away everything we built? Built? She built a lie. I just happened to live inside it. Later that afternoon, Sean came by the lot. Uninvited, like always. He didn't even park right. Just pulled up sideways like he was still part of this place. Like he still had the right. I watched him walk toward my office through the window. He knocked once and came in without waiting. We need to talk, he said. You keep using that word like it means something, I said without looking up. He sat across from me like this was some negotiation. Look, man, I know things got screwed up, but it doesn't have to be like this. I raised an eyebrow. Like what? You sleeping with my wife? Raising my kid? She's not your kid, he snapped, then froze. Realizing what he'd just admitted, I stood up. No, she's not, I said quietly. But I loved her anyway. I still do. Something you'll never understand. Sean shifted in his seat. I just think you're making this harder than it needs to be. I think you should leave, I said. He didn't move. I'm serious, Sean. You don't work here. You don't get to drop by. You don't get to breathe my air. You really want me gone that bad? No, I said. I want to erase you. And I'm almost there. He left, but not before tossing a sarcastic, "Good luck selling your precious little dealership" over his shoulder. What he didn't know was that I'd already finalized a quiet transfer. Second Chance Autos was now under a layered structure of holding companies, owned by a trust, managed by a lawyer I trusted more than I ever trusted him. I'd taken everything Rachel and Sean thought I'd built with them and locked it behind legal doors they'd never open. By Friday, Rachel sent another message. You ruined everything. You're leaving me with nothing. I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed out my reply. I didn't ruin it. You did. I just cleaned up the wreckage. Then I blocked her. But what came next I didn't see coming. Emily called. Mom's freaking out, she said. I'm sure, I replied. She's not used to consequences. She told me to ask if I could stay with you for a while. My breath caught. Did she say why? She said the house is going on the market. She doesn't want me there when it gets messy. That was rich. Rachel didn't want her daughter around when things got messy, like Emily hadn't already been living in a mess since the day she was born. Of course you can stay with me, I said, for as long as you want. She came over that night with a duffel bag and her school backpack. No goodbyes, no drama, just quiet relief. I made her pancakes for dinner, and we watched some trashy reality show she liked. Is it weird? She asked halfway through the second episode. What? Being here. Just the two of us. I thought about it. No. Feels right. She smiled. You're the only one who ever made it feel like home anyway. My throat tightened. I didn't say anything. I just nodded. After she went to bed, I stood in the hallway staring at the closed door. 14 years ago, I thought I was starting a family. Turns out I did, just not the way I expected. And now, I was finally starting to feel free. Rachel didn't take Emily leaving well. She showed up 2 days later, banging on the door like she was collecting a debt. I opened it halfway, kept my arm against the frame. You took her, she snapped. I didn't take anyone. She called me. She's my daughter. Funny, I said. You didn't seem to care much when you handed her a duffel bag and told her the house was too messy. She was supposed to stay with a friend. Then you should have sent her there. She stared at me, jaw tight, chest rising and falling like she was holding back a scream. You think you're the good guy in all this? No, I said. But I'm not the one who built a life out of lies. Rachel looked past me, trying to spot Emily in the hallway. She needs her mother. No, she needs stability. She needs truth. And right now, I'm the only one giving her either. Rachel's expression shifted. The fight drained out of her face and something else took over. Desperation. I messed up, she said softly. But you can't erase me from her life. I'm not trying to. But if she wants space from you and Sean, I'm giving it to her. You want her back? Try being the parent she actually wants around. She flinched, like I'd smacked her with a sentence. I shut the door before she could answer. Inside, Emily was curled up on the couch, pretending not to have heard. But I knew better. You okay? I asked. She nodded, but her eyes were glassy. Why is she like that? Because she knows she lost, I wanted to say. Because she burned every bridge she thought she could cross again. Instead, I said, some people don't know how to fix what they break. That week, I filed the final set of motions with the court. Property split. Custody arrangements. Full divorce. It was all happening faster than Rachel could catch up to. Meanwhile, Sean was circling like a wounded dog. He showed up at the dealership again, but I didn't even come outside. Rachel called my office. Rachel emailed Anna at reception. Rachel even called Emily, which was a mistake. She said she's sorry, Emily told me afterward. And she said she didn't think it mattered. Back then. I waited. She said you weren't supposed to find out. And there it was. Not regret. Not remorse. Just a miscalculation. I told her I didn't want to talk anymore, Emily said. At least not until she stops pretending it's all your fault. You didn't have to say that, I told her. Yeah, I did, she said. She needs to hear it. The next week, the house officially went on the market. Rachel and Sean had moved into a rental across town. A cramped little duplex from what I'd heard. No garage. No dishwasher. Sean took a job at a chain oil change place. Not exactly the dream mechanic gig. I didn't gloat. Not out loud. But part of me enjoyed the silence that followed. Until one night I got another knock. It wasn't Rachel this time. It was Sean. I opened the door halfway again. What do you want? He looked smaller. Defeated. She's losing it, he said. Not my problem. She blames me. For everything. Well, I said. That's the first thing she's gotten right in years. He sighed. Look, I know what we did was low, I offered. Yeah. I waited. I wanted to see if he'd say anything that mattered. Instead, he said, You think there's a way back from this? You mean for you too? He nodded. I looked him dead in the eye. You already passed the exit. Then I shut the door again. Back inside, Emily had paused her show. She looked at me. That was him, wasn't it? Yep. What did he want? To pretend he's the victim. She laughed once, bitterly. They deserve each other. I sat next to her and stared at the screen. Yeah, I said. They do. She hit play and we kept watching like nothing outside that living room mattered. Because honestly, didn't. ChatGPT. One morning, I woke up and realized I wasn't angry anymore. Not numb. Not sad. Just done. The fire that had kept me going through the betrayal, the planning, the divorce, it had cooled into something steadier. I didn't need revenge. I needed air. Emily was at school. The dealership was running smooth, thanks to Anna. So I packed a weekend bag, grabbed the keys to the Miata, and hit the road again. No destination. Just out. First it was the back roads west of Rockvale, where the hills roll soft and the radio loses signal. I didn't mind the quiet. I welcomed it. For the first time in years, the silence didn't feel heavy. Felt earned. I ended up in a town I'd never been to. One gas station. 2 diners. A motel with a flickering neon sign that said vacancy, in a color that didn't exist anymore. I checked in under my real name this time. The woman at the desk was older, kind, didn't ask questions. Just handed me a key and said, Room 6 has the best view of the stars. She was right. That night I sat on the hood of the Miata with a gas station coffee in one hand and a bag of peanuts in the other, looking up at a sky so full it didn't feel real. And for the first time in over a year, I let my mind drift without checking for landmines. No Rachel. No Sean. No fake smiles. Just the sound of wind and the occasional cricket trying to be important. In the distance, I heard music. Faint. Someone playing guitar badly through an open window. It wasn't good. But it was honest. And I realized something. This was the honeymoon I never got. Rachel and I never went on one. We said we'd plan it after things settled down. After the business took off. After the baby. But life just kept handing us reasons to postpone. Now here I was, 14 years late, no wife, no wedding ring, no itinerary. Just me and a red convertible. And it felt perfect. The next morning, I grabbed breakfast at a local diner. The waitress called everyone Han and refilled your coffee before you knew you needed it. She asked what brought me through town. I said, cleaning house. She smiled like she understood more than I said. Maybe she did. Back on the road, I called Anna from a rest stop. Everything good over there? I asked. Better than good, she said. We hit record sales last week. Also, you've got 5 messages from Rachel, 3 from Sean. Delete them. Already did. I laughed. Remind me to give you a raise. She paused. We're okay, right? You and me. I didn't hesitate. Your family. Same. After we hung up, I sat for a moment, staring out at the highway. So much of my life had been about control. Managing the lot, managing Rachel's moods, managing a lie I didn't even know I was living. Now there was nothing to manage, and I was finally learning how to just live. By late afternoon, I pulled into a scenic overlook, popped the trunk, and found a pair of old sunglasses I thought I'd lost years ago. I slid them on, leaned back in the driver's seat, and listened to the wind whip past the side mirrors. There was no dramatic music, no voice in the sky, no sudden epiphany, just peace. And it was enough. I pulled into Rockvale just as the sun was dipping behind the hills. The familiar sights rolled by. The same gas station, the faded billboard for a church carnival that had passed months ago. But everything looked different. Or maybe I did. When I turned onto the lot at Second Chance Autos, something strange happened. The team was waiting for me. Anna stood in front, arms crossed, grinning like she'd known exactly when I'd show up. Behind her were the others, my crew, the people who kept this place running while I was out trying to breathe again. Look what the wind dragged back, she said. I leave for one weekend and you throw a parade? I said, stepping out of the Miata. Anna smirked. 3 months, boss. You were gone 3 months. I looked at the time on my phone and blinked. She wasn't wrong. Inside the office, everything was cleaner, more organized. The new logo gleamed from behind the front desk. Second Chance Autos didn't just sound like a rebirth. It looked like one. Anna followed me into my old office, now hers, and shut the door behind her. You good? She asked. I nodded. Better than I've been in a long time. Emily okay? She's strong. Stronger than both her parents, honestly. Anna sat across from me, hands folded. You know, I wasn't sure you'd come back. I wasn't either, I said. But I'm glad you did. I smiled. You've been holding this place together. She shrugged. It's easier when you've got something worth holding on to. I paused. So, what did I miss? She leaned back in the chair. Rachel tried to show up here once. Wanted to talk to the staff. Security escorted her off the property. I raised my eyebrows. Security? Installed a system while you were gone. Cameras, alerts, remote locks. And yes, we're upgrading the Wi-Fi too. I laughed, and for the first time in a while it didn't feel forced. That night, I invited the whole crew to Miller's Tavern. Nothing fancy. Just food, drinks, and people who actually gave a damn. As the night wound down, I sat outside on the patio with Anna. Everyone else had either gone home or was inside finishing their second round. You changed the sign, I said, nodding toward the dealership across the street. She grinned. Second Chance Autos. Like you asked. Know why I picked that name? I asked. She looked at me for a moment. At first, I thought it was about the cars. Then I thought maybe it was about you. Now, I think it's about all of us. I nodded slowly. It is. Anna studied me for a beat, then said, You may not feel like it, but you're the strongest guy I know. I chuckled. You're confusing strength with being too stubborn to stay down. Sometimes, that's the same thing. We sat in silence for a while, just listening to the low hum of the tavern and the cars rolling by in the distance. When I finally got home, to the small apartment above the dealership, I opened the windows and let the night in. It was quiet, cool, clean. I grabbed a beer from the fridge, sat on the balcony, and watched the lights blink across town. I thought about everything. The lies, the betrayal, the years I'd spent pretending not to see what was right in front of me. But I also thought about Emily, about the team, about that endless highway and the sky so full of stars it didn't feel real. And I realized something. They didn't just lose me. I found me, again. I hadn't planned to see them again. Not together. Not like this. But late one Saturday, Just as the summer air started to cool, I heard a knock on the apartment door. It was Emily. "Mom wants to talk," she said, looking down at her sneakers. "Both of them, actually." I waited a beat. "Do you want me to talk to them?" She shrugged. "I don't know. I just think it might help to end it. End it. Like we were all characters in a story someone forgot to finish." I followed her downstairs to the parking lot, where Rachel and Sean stood by her car. They looked like people on their way to a job interview they knew they wouldn't get. Stiff, uncomfortable, trying not to sweat. Rachel spoke first. "We're not here to fight." "Good," I said. "Because you'd lose." She flinched. Sean glanced down like he was trying to disappear into the concrete. "I just wanted to talk face to face," she said. "No yelling. No lawyers." "You had 14 years of FaceTime," I said. "Didn't use it." Rachel looked tired. "Older. We're moving," she said finally. "To Colorado. Sean got a job out there." I nodded. "Great. You'll love the mountains." "Emily said she wants to stay with you," she added. "I'm not going to fight that." I looked at her, searching for any trace of the woman I once married. But all I saw was someone trying to rewrite the ending of a story she didn't bother to read. "She's already with me," I said. "You're just late to notice." Sean finally cleared his throat. "Look, man. Don't. I just—" "No," I said, sharp this time. "You don't get a monologue. You had your chance. You used it to stab me in the back and laugh about it in a bar like I was some punchline." His mouth snapped shut. Rachel stepped forward, slower now. "Kevin, I know sorry isn't enough. It's not even close. But I need you to hear this," she said. "I loved you. Maybe not the way you deserved. But I did." "You didn't love me," I said calmly. "You loved being loved. That's not the same." She blinked, but didn't argue. "We're leaving Monday," she said. I nodded. "Then let this be the goodbye." Rachel's eyes welled up, but she didn't cry. Maybe she knew it wouldn't buy her anything here. Sean opened the car door. Rachel hesitated. "Tell Emily I'll call." "I'll let her know," I said, turning around. "Kevin?" she called. I looked back. "Do you really hate us?" I considered that for a moment, then shook my head. "No, I just don't care anymore." They drove off in silence, taillights fading into the dusk. I stood there a while, just breathing, letting the last of it roll off me like sweat after a storm. Back upstairs, Emily was on the couch, headphones in. She looked up when I came in. "You okay?" she asked. I sat beside her. "They're gone." She didn't ask anything else. She just leaned her head on my shoulder. We sat like that for a long time. Quiet, real, honest. Eventually, I whispered, "You sure you want to stay here?" "I've never been more sure about anything," she said. And just like that, I knew this wasn't the end of a family. It was the beginning of a real one.